Be excited about tonight?
A lot. A really positive afternoon. I think to start the season at home in the manner that we've done it, you could sense the energy immediately that is going up a level. And that's what we're looking for. I think the team played really well, really confident, really attacking. We didn't concede anything, and 5 goals and a clean sheet is a very good start.
In terms of your fluency and your open play, do you think that improved and grew maybe after the first goal?
Probably, and that you need that, and teams are really well organised in the league, and it's not easy to get through them, but that's definitely a factor. We have the ability to score from various ways. Very happy as well for Victor to score the first 2 goals. Julian, 2 goals after such a long injury and all the hard work that him and the medical staff had to put in. And then, the debut of Mosque. And for sure the one of Max as 15 years old. That was a special moment, and you could sense it.
I mean, you really could sense it, couldn't you? The stadium absolutely came alive. He electrified the place. I was thinking for you, like with how exciting giddy we're going to get, how exciting giddy the supporters are going to get. Is your job to try and sort of keep a lid on it a little bit? And is that, I mean, just watching him tonight, that's going to be impossible, isn't it?
I think we have to gather on the information, and it's how he reacts, how he deals with that situation, what his teammates feel about him, and it's very clear because they constantly give him the ball. And then, we have the ability as well to change the energy in this stadium by bringing him in. And then he's got an impact. He wins a penalty in his debut at the Emirates. That's incredible.
Yeah, I'm very aware when I asked this that you came through at Barcelona, but at 15, have you seen anything like it?
Well, yes. Ethan was a bit younger when he made his debut. Incredible. I think that's credit, first of all, to the families, the way these kids have been raised and the environment that they have created, because they are not overwhelmed by the situation, by the context. A lot of courage, a lot of determination, and then the academy as well, the work that they've done to raise those kids in that manner, with that confidence, and then with that understanding of the game, which is very unusual at 15.
I've got a quote from you from pre-season in my mind about Victor Gyokeres, where you said one-on-one, he'll destroy you. And we saw that for the first time with the first goal. Yes,
I mean, he's so powerful, he's so determined in those actions, and the moment he has a space and he can attack people, you are dead.
The excitement actually began before the game with the Berrieza. I don't think you were out, you saw it, but it was that, again, a bit like the thing with Max, it was quite a moment. I mean, you can talk about it now. How pleased are you to have him?
I think it started. You could feel it in the last 24 hours that something else was happening. I think our supporters, the way they reacted, what he brought immediately, it's something special. We signed a player with an enormous talent that he has a massive impact in this league. And on top of that, he has unbelievable feelings toward the football club. He's made it very clear. His family's made it very clear. And you can sense that. So I missed it because I was there, but just spoke to him. He had a massive smile on his face. So welcome to the family.
When did you know you were going to get him?
Well, I was very convinced yesterday that everything was going to be through. But this is football, and everything has to be done. The medical has to be done. The paperwork has to be finalized. In terms of the player, how convinced he was to come, I have no doubt.
But at the start of the week, did you think maybe he was going somewhere else, not too far away?
Probably not. At the start of the week, I wasn't really planning to that.
Okay. I must ask you about the bad news I mentioned at the start. It's Saka and Odegaard of all people.
Martin looks like a shoulder, so we only have to scan tomorrow and understand how bad this is. And Bukayo, he has to come off. When he was sprinting and wrestling with the defender, he felt something in his hamstring, I think. So
different hamstring though, I think, which hopefully is good news.
It's the other side, but not great news. No.
Do either of those, I know it's hard as you stand there now, feel like they might be long term?
I don't know. We lost Kai, which is a massive player already, and now Martin and Bukayo. That's why the squad has to be well equipped. It's going to be a long season, and we're going to need a lot of players in order to achieve what we want.
Well done tonight.
Thank you.
Brilliant. Thanks.
Major sour note on what has been an extraordinarily positive day otherwise for Arsenal. First, it was Martin Odegaard tumbling, Theo.
Yeah, this is an injury which is it's hard to say.
I've
done this. It's hard to continue to play on with a dislocated shoulder. I'm not saying it's dislocated, but I played the whole season when it was popping in and out, and it's never ideal. But this one's probably the biggest worry for me because it's always unknown. Now it's the other side. So look, until they actually have the scans, we're not going to know.
But if that's happened to you in the past, and yes, we think it's the other side, it was the right side, the major operation, and we think it might be the left side this time, will there be that sort of nervousness in your mind if you do feel something straight away to get off the pitch?
There'd be all those worries, but even though he's so young, he would have stopped at the right time. You know, some players would want to continue to play on because, you know, they still feel like they can. He knows his body really well, and I think it's one of those he needs to manage it. But this is why Mikel's got all these options now, where he can try and take the load off people like Bukayo. I think it's a worrying sign, of course, for Arsenal fans. But look, the most important for him is to obviously make sure he's caught it early. I think that's the key.
The thing is that you've got a lot of people, you've got a lot of players that have come in, but there's only one Bukayo Saka. And that's the major problem. And when he got injured against Crystal Palace, he required surgery, the hamstring after that. It took a long time and it actually deflated the whole team. You know, they weren't the same after that. They lost a lot of rhythm, lost a goal threat, and they lost a talisman because he was the one player that when things weren't going right, you always looked at Bukayo Saka to make things better. And to not have him, and I know they've got an abundance of players that have come in, Eze's going to be fantastic, but Saka's the one that when he gets the ball, you always feel like everything's going to be right if you're an Arsenal fan. And to not have him at Anfield next week is going to be a massive blow.
It's a major
Let's
game.
just see.
It's a major test for them this early in the season as well, isn't it, Theo? And to be lacking Havertz, and there was a theory amongst some that Havertz might be the one to play at Anfield had he been fit rather than Gyokeres, and then potentially to lose your captain Odegaard and to lose Bukayo Saka. Is this playing into Liverpool's hands? Or do Arsenal this season, unlike last, have the options to cope with that?
Well, they did cope. As soon as they made these, obviously, the changes, of course it's disappointing, but there was, you know, even more freedom play because these are players that want to impress. They're going to want to, you know, someone like Trossard who actually would probably look at himself thinking, I need to do more now. And then players like Martinelli, who's never been tested in this domain at Arsenal Football Club, having all these players around him now thinking, I'm going to have to reach a new level. There's going to see a different side of me now. So suddenly you start to get levels of players wanting to do better than them. And of course they're going to be competitive. They're going to want to be at Anfield. But this is where Mikel Arteta will be disappointed, but it'd be grateful he's got all these players to pick from.
I think it just shows you the importance of signing Eberechi Eze. Because right now they need him. They're going to need him probably. I wouldn't be surprised if he starts at Anfield. Because if you think about it, Madueke will probably go back onto the right.
I mean, he could have started today in his jeans. He was so
this
chilled,
is the coolest
today?
walkout I've ever seen. I mean, just look at this little look to his right. I mean, he's got the chewing the gum. He looks cool in the jeans, and then there you go. Stop, hold the pose, and he's like, that's one happy man right there. And I met him a few weeks ago actually in a restaurant in London, and I was having a little chat with him. And I was like, well, what a great guy. He is such a cool dude, and he is going to be brilliant there. And the number 10 shirt just feels right on him because at Palace, he was 10 at Palace, wasn't he? Yeah. I'm sure he was 10 anyway, when he played the 10. And it just feels like he deserves it. He's done such a great job for Crystal Palace. This is now his big opportunity. Did you tell me earlier he got released from there as a kid as well?
He's been released at Arsenal when he was young, so it just shows, doesn't it?
Unfinished business.
The reception was amazing.
Well,
brilliant.
he's a player that reminds me of like a Dennis Bergkamp, that can just do something different. He's like you say, you've got that number 10 shirt, that pressure as well. But if you walk out like that, you can
Is
deal.
it different though, playing at Crystal Palace and playing at Arsenal?
The thing is, though, he won't shy away from the way he plays from Palace to Arsenal because he just loves playing football. And when you have players that just enjoy when the ball's at their feet and they have that aura about and that presence, and now having that shirt of Arsenal when he's been at the club thinking, I'm going to show you, I'm going to make it work here. Look, you can just see how gifted he is. He just creates space, he gets into
Look at
areas.
his strike as well, Theo.
And the goals are the side of it, which you look at someone like Odegaard, probably doesn't get as many goals in that position. He scores all kinds of
Seems to
goals.
perform in big games as well. We've seen that in cup finals recently, Jamie.
Yeah, exactly. He doesn't quite get hold of this one, though. Yeah, he's a fantastic player.
Do you think it's also...
He's played for his country. We're not talking... Like, he is going to flourish there. And I would like to see him in positions where... in here. You know, if he plays wide, it's a bit more difficult for him to make things happen. I feel... Right now, the one player would be under a little bit of pressure, and if I thought 2 years ago I'd be saying this, I thought I must be crazy. But I think the captain Odegaard will be looking, thinking he might be a problem for me, because if he gets in, it might be hard for.
Do you think for now though he's most likely to be on the left side, wide left?
He can play wide left, he can play inside. But we've shown clips there, and the reason why we've shown those clips is because that's where he's at his best. Martinelli won't come in there and play in that area. I feel, if you ask Eze, he'd want to play centrally where he can make things happen. But you mentioned about Martinelli that he might need this because he's been too comfortable
All those
for too long.
substitutions today, we haven't seen Martinelli.
No, and it's this might be a situation now where for Martinelli, he needs to up his game, and Eze will certainly bring that. He's got so much confidence.
Is it also significant, Theo, and probably this is the last one on Arsenal, that in players like Gyokeres and in players like Eze, this is a shift from the age profile of players that Arsenal have been signing. These are now signings to deliver the biggest trophies right now.
Well, even you look at going back to Eze, he brought the best out of Mateta. So now they're going to want to bring the best out of Gyokeres. But you're right, the age and having that experience and that presence of actually thinking, yeah, this is me at that age, I think is a good place to be right now if you're at Arsenal Football Club.
I'll tell you one thing, though. There's no excuses now for the manager. You know, you bought the players, he's been backed. They have severely backed this manager.
Well, how about Havertz and Saka and Odegaard? That's three.
Yeah,
in his
but they're going to
weekends.
be. Yeah, but that's why. But they've backed him, and the reason why they haven't probably got over the line previously is they haven't had the strength in depth. Now they have. You're going to be bringing in players that are of top quality as well.
We will see.
You'd have answered that question if he'd have been here. You'd never have asked it to him. You're brave behind this studio, aren't you?
He's a big boy.
He's a big
boy.
guy. He's a big guy.
Do you think that power is going to frighten some defences this season?
I do, because I just don't feel like it gives you any second to rest. And as a centre-half in the Premier League these days, at times they can be, especially because a lot of these forwards like to get in the pockets now as well. They don't like to play against these guys who want to always be testing them in positions they want and isolating them into areas they don't want to be. So for me, I just think he's going to have a lot of joy, and even in set pieces as well, he's an absolute handful to deal with. So, look, this is obviously Timber's second goal, who just doesn't give up, and it was a slight... So we're going back to the goal here with Timber. There's a slight mistake and potentially a handball, wasn't there, before the goal we were saying? But look, Timber is in the right place at the right time again. He gets his rewards. It's not often he gets 2 goals in this situation.
I mean, but they do just cause chaos with these set pieces, don't they? And I think they just spread so much fear because that is... Listen, you can't... If you're trying to analyse a goal, I'm not quite sure how you do this because it's just chaos. You know, they've got a load of bodies going in there. They're aggressive. They want to win it. You've got Saliba, Calafiori. But Jurrien Timber will not care one bit. He's just got a cheeky brace. He's delighted. As he said, he's got his family there. And he's a nuisance in that box. And he's not the biggest guy in the world, but he certainly knows where the goal is. He did it a few times as well last year. He's in a really good signing for him. He's one of those players that goes so unnoticed. You know, there's a lot of good players there. Miles Lewis, Skelly in defensive areas. But he's one that the manager always plays. You know, he's such an important player for them. Really, and especially after when he first arrived at the club, he had obviously a terrible injury, and now you can see the real fit. Timber, strength in depth. He's a really good player and a good type as well.
Isn't there now for Arsenal? And we saw it again with the substitutions and the youngsters coming on, not least 15-year-old Max Dowman, 16 on New Year's Eve. He wins the penalty, Jamie. Let's have a look at it. It looked like Gabriel Gudmundsson on that left side had his work cut out with him the moment that he came on the pitch.
Yeah, because the kid's, as I said, I've seen so much of him at a young age. He's got wonderful feet and he starts players. He's got that hip movement that only a few great players possess. And you see it here, he chops it back onto his left foot. You can see Stack comes in too quickly, can't stop, and obviously then he just nips away. At the first thought, you're not sure, is it a penalty or not? But I'm going to obviously do it right here. So just keep your eye on Max's left foot here, and then Stack comes in, I think, with his right foot. And as he comes in, I'll just try and slow it down. You can just see he steps on his toe there. Left foot of Max's. Let me just let it go a little bit more. There we go. Hold on, guys, just a bit forward. There's the impact just there. And then it fouls him and he goes down. He feels the contact. And it's definitely a penalty, no doubt at all. And he will win so many penalties. He did it in pre-season. He will score goals, and even when he came on, there was a few things that went his way, a few things that didn't, but he showed enough to get Arsenal fans so excited, and rightly so. And it's dispatched. The penalty is exactly where you want it, Theo.
You called it of him winning the penalty as well, actually, before he even came on, I will admit. But look, he's going to, these inside wingers committing to defenders is a big feature to have. So brilliant. He's a very successful career ahead of him, I'm sure of that, because he's so positive with his first outlet. And yeah, it did take him a bit of time to get into the game, but you can sense the qualities are there. You wouldn't be playing at Arsenal Football Club at 15 if you weren't good enough. So I just love the fact his first instinct is always first thought, put the fullback onto the back foot. You isolate these guys into these positions, and he's strong. and he won't give up as well in these situations. And he's going to be learning off potentially one of the best wingers in world football right now, Bukayo
Let's
Saka.
just remember that you went to World Cup at what age? 17?
Yeah, 17. So when I watched
Jamie went to Liverpool at 17?
Yeah, I made my debut at 16, like you, Theo.
So when I watch someone like this who comes through as well, we always obviously need to be careful because it's going to go one of two ways. But look, he's going to have the difference in him, I would see it, is he can relate to a lot of the younger players that have come through at Arsenal Football Club right now.
Was that not the case for you?
That was very different for me. I had the Invincible team coming through, so I couldn't never really relate to the players. You know, Thierry Henry was in his pomp as well. I was only 16, so I had to grow up.
Were you a little bit intimidated by that, a little bit overawed by it?
The thing is, at times, I'd probably say I wasn't intimidated, but more on the pitch I could express myself. And I think the difference in his, I feel like, future, you look at the likes of Ethan Wanyere around him, Mars Lewis-Skelly, he's going to have Bukayo.
5 touches in the opposition box, only
It's the
Gyokeres
trust,
more
though.
in the game.
Yeah,
It's the trust.
Yeah, he will provoke situations.
Yeah.
And that's what he's got. And he's also got when you ask a footballer, what would you like? You want to be left-footed. They're just different. The way they move the ball, it's effortless for them. And Arsenal are blessed. If you look at Miles Lewis-Skelly, Saka, Odegaard, Nwaneri, I don't know what they're giving them at Arsenal, but they've got some beautiful left foots there, and they just do it differently. And he's going to be a superstar. Make no mistake.
Is that right that we should be saying that right now? Or are you a little bit worried about what could happen from this point? Because the secret is out the bag now. People have been talking about this kid for a long time. Now we've actually seen it in a Premier League game.
Look, this is even with myself, there was a lot of wait, so I have to wait 6 months to even play. So there's all that expectation, and then I of course went to World Cup without playing in the league, no choice of my own. And then there's a different kind of pressure. He's going to have pressure every day now. How he even, the way he is around the place, right? In at school, of course, I'm sure Arsenal really look after him on that side of it because can't forget about that side. Obviously, Gary alluded to that in the comms, but you can just get the sense that he's got a good head on his shoulders and he's got a good man management there as well. Mikel Arteta, who as well, will look after him and he trusts him. And I think that's the biggest thing. When you have a manager that trusts you and it allows you to express yourself, I think that the world's at his feet. But it just kind of makes me sick at times just thinking, look, let's let him enjoy his football. He's going to obviously still develop mentally as well. I think that's one thing we need to, not shy away from. I think it's important to look after him in that sense. But I think they will, the squad. I get the sense that they really do look after him, Declan Rice particularly as well.
You're right. The manager's really important, but the support network around him, be it his parents, where every day he's going to go home and they're going to be making sure that he keeps his head on his shoulders. And it's not going to be easy because right now that kid is the talk of the town. It's as simple as that. But there's been the talk of the town since he was 13 years of age. He's been blowing up at Arsenal for playing 2-3 years ahead of his, ahead of his age, ahead of his time. And every time he makes that step up, it's just effortless for him. So I think it was the same. I remember playing against Wayne Rooney when he was making his debut for Everton. I was playing for Tottenham. I remember looking at him in the tunnel and just thinking, this kid's different. And you just know, you see it, the way they play, the confidence they have. And it was the same with Max when he walked onto that pitch today. It wasn't like this is going to be a stress for him. But some people are different.
Just one thing, Jamie, because we've talked about the fact, as Theo said, he talked about it, Gary, on commentary, about his schooling. How is that actually going to work? If he's going to train as a professional, how can he then go and finish his GCSEs at the same time?
Well, he's on summer holidays at the moment, so he's not got to do school at the minute.
He's fine for a week.
He's got another week left. And then, what they did last year, from what I can gather, was that he would be training with the first team and then he'd do tutoring in the evening, which Arsenal are adamant, and they supply tutors to make sure that he keeps his grades up. I know his parents are going to be pretty militant with him. They're going to be on him. They're going to make sure that he comes out of the school with the best that he can. I can only speak from experience. I was sort of playing first team football at 16. The last thing on my mind was my schooling, and I didn't exactly have a mum and dad that would push me because they just wanted me to be footballers. But I'm not going to say that you should do that at home, by the way. That's not. But
we would never have guessed.
Oh, thanks. But I think that from Max's perspective, and Arsenal will make sure that he does all the academics that he can while making sure that he carries on with the football trajectory that he is. And you have to balance it because next year he will still go back to school. He'll have to do his exams because they don't homeschool him at say like maybe Chelsea do. They go to school and then they come into training. But there will be a fine balance there. And then obviously the following year he'll sign on his scholarship terms, and then when he's 17 he'll sign as a pro. So he's still got a year and a half before he can sign a pro deal at a football club, and he's already made his professional debut. It's pretty scary, but as I said, I'm pretty confident in what I'm saying here. This isn't a typical 15-year-old. This is a very unusual player that we're watching.
But just one more on this, Theo. It was the ideal circumstance to bring him on today, wasn't it? With, OK, they'd lost a couple of players with injury, so maybe the hand was forced a little bit today, but they were comfortable in the game. There was plenty of time left in it as well for him to sort of showcase his talents. Do you think Mikel Arteta might just pull the reins back in a bit now?
I get the impression that I don't think he will, because I think as well, when you start scoring more and more goals, the freedom comes out of all the players, not just Max. And I think it's really important, Arsenal, to go away from just winning 1-0 from set pieces. Yeah. They score 2, 3, 4 goals. Obviously, it helps with the league itself, but it just lets you just loosen it, lets you express yourself. I think it's really good to see.
Let's put it this way, right? You know, Mikel Arteta's got a job to do. Right? Of course, he wants to develop this young man, but right now things have already changed in 90 minutes. Whereas he might not come on today. He might not start in the next 6 weeks. But all of a sudden, Bukayo Saka looks like he's got a hamstring injury. After his last hamstring injury, he needed surgery. So I'm not a doctor, but let's put work on the basis that's 2 or 3 weeks he's going to be out for. Obviously, they've got international break in that period. So Madueke will probably come onto the right, or Nwaneri, either one. And if they're not working, what's your first substitution? You're bringing on a kid that's already made an impact and drawn a penalty in a game. So already things have escalated. You know, like you said, the cat's out the bag. Defenders are going to have a nightmare trying to deal with him. But this is exciting. You know, I think we should embrace it. I don't think we should hide from it. This is a unique young player who's going to have a brilliant career, and he's at the right club because they've already done it with Miles Lewis-Skelly, who's got a great support network around him, and then you've obviously got Nwaneri, and you look at Bukayo Saka, and if you're right now that young man, I would be watching what Bukayo Saka does every day in training. Because he was great academically, he was well spoken about how well he did at school. On the pitch, he's a superstar. He is the perfect role model for him. I went to Liverpool, I had John Barnes. I should just watch John Barnes every day in training. I just wanted to be like him. And I just thought that's the role model that you want to have. And that's why for Max, playing the same position, just look at what Bukayo's done, because he's not just being a role model on the pitch, he's also a role model off the pitch.
So exciting, isn't it, for Arsenal right now? The explosion of young...
Premier League probably doesn't offer too many tougher tests than that. What did you make of how your team coped with it?
Yes, it was always a difficult game for us, travelling here without my most important player, was our captain, he's number 2. And then, of course, you wish you have Arsenal perhaps after whatever Champions League game and not on their first home game on the back of, for them, very important win away at Man United. All the new signings are already presented even before the game. The whole stadium was buzzing and they are on it. Like today, you could feel it in the first 10-15 minutes. They were too good for us. We had to suffer a lot. I think then we came better into the game, had probably the best chance of the game with Pascal Struijk's had a great save from their goalkeeper. And yes, of course, and also annoying that we concede out of a set piece, and also in added time after a promising win of the ball when we underestimated their counter-pressing a little bit, and they scored out of a also difficult angle. Yeah, the 2-0 was, of course, and difficult in the second half. Yes, second half, again, 5 shots on goal, five shots on target, 5 goals is difficult when they are so effective like today. Yeah, a bit annoying that again we concede a set piece, and also again in added time after a loss, unnecessary loss of the ball deep in their half, another penalty situation. Haven't watched it back. I'm not sure if it was a penalty or not. Looked a bit soft, if I'm really honest, just from the outside. But long story short, they were the better side today. They deserve to win this game, and this is not a season-defining game for us.